Hello everyone and welcome back to Days Out. Now after a short stay in Yorkshire, I decided to pop in to somewhere that is unique amongst British railway heritage. The Roundhouse at Barrow Hill. Barrow Hill is the UK's last surviving roundhouse, situated on the old Midland Main Line from Chesterfield to Sheffield. Opened in 1870 as Staveley, it was coded M24 by the Midland. Renamed Barrow Hill in 1948, the depot was coded 41E by BR. The shed allocation was always freight-based, with steam going in 1965. However, the freight allocation continued into the diesel era, but by the time of closure in 1991 was only a signing-on point. Grade 2 listed, the roundhouse was heavily vandalised until being acquired by Chesterfield Council in 1996. Reopened in 1998, Barrow Hill is now a key site for the heritage and mainline sectors. Our first port of call is the Shedmaster's office. He would have logged all the locomotive movement, as well as staff signing on and off duty. The centrepiece of the roundhouse is the 55-foot turntable from Cowan Sheldon. Standing on the turntable is Class 02, number D2853, built by the Yorkshire Engine Company in 1961. A former Barrow Hill resident is Midland 1F half cab number 41708, outshot from Derby in 1880. The half cab owes its survival to Staveley Iron Works, set up by the Coal and Iron Company Limited in 1863, who drew up a 100-year contract with the Midland in 1866. As the contract was with the Midland and not the LMS or BR, shunting classes continued to work at the ironworks, with diesels not appearing until 1966 when the contract expired. Some of the residents are courtesy of the National Collection, such as Midland Compound number 1000 from 1902. Rebuilt in 1914, the compounds were the most successful design of their type in the UK. Number 506 Butler Henderson is a D11 or director, introduced in 1919 by Robinson for the Great Central's Expresses on its London extension. Later working on the former Cheshire Lines Committee system, number 506 was withdrawn in 1960. Great Eastern J17, number 8217, dates from 1905. The J17s were introduced in 1900 by James Holden, receiving superheaters in 1923. This example was the last member in service, being withdrawn in 1962. On loan from the Severn Valley is GWR 5101 number 5164 from 1930. Withdrawn in 1963, she moved to the Severn Valley in 1973, with Hall number 4930 Hagley Hall and Manor number 7819 Hinton Manor. Her loan was to ensure that she remained in undercover storage. Henry was constructed by Hawthorne Leslie in 1901 for the Webster Brickworks near Coventry. Later sold to British Celanese Limited in 1928, she was withdrawn in the 1980s and is on loan from Tyseley. E.B. Wilson is a Manning Wardle from 1903 and worked for T.W. Ward in Sheffield. Later sold to Scunthorpe Steelworks and Urchester Quarries, she was withdrawn in 1969 and came to Barrow Hill in 2012, but has since moved to the Derwent Valley. Swanscombe number 4 was outshopped by Hawthorne Leslie in 1928 for Associated Portland Cement in Kent. One of a batch of 5 locomotives, she is now based at Quainton Road. Vulcan was the Vulcan Foundry's own work shunter, being constructed by the company in 1918. Upon withdrawal, she was displayed at the works, later moving to Lytham Creek and Peak Rail. These frames belong to Austerity number 68006, outshopped by Hunslet in 1944 for the MOD. The locomotive was never taken into BR stock and after demob went to work for the NCB until the 80s. Alongside steam is a collection of modern traction, represented here by Class 26, number 26007, Class 83, number E3035, Class 81, number 81002, and Class 85 number 85006. The electrics are all owned by the AC Locomotive Group. Number 07012 is a Class 07 from 1962. The 07s worked at Southampton Docks, replacing the Southern Railway USAs. This example was withdrawn in 1977 and sold to Powell Dufferin at Kid Willie. D4092 is a Class 10, similar to the ubiquitous Class 08, but with a Blackstone engine. 146 were built at Darlington and Doncaster and were withdrawn from February 1967 to June 1972. In recent years, new build diesels have appeared on the preservation scene, such as Class 23 number D5910. The 1023s, or Baby Deltics, had Napier Deltic engines and worked suburban services from King's Cross. Withdrawn between 1968 to 71, this new build is being rebuilt from Class 37 number 37372. Harry was outshopped by Robert Stevenson and Hawthorne in 1957 for the Purfleet Deepwater Terminal and later sold to Barton Hill Quarry in Derbyshire. Alongside the Roundhouse is the headquarters of the Deltic Preservation Society, formed in 1977. In 1955, the prototype Deltic made a striking appearance as part of BR's modernisation plan. Powered by two 3,300 horsepower Napier Deltic engines, they had a maximum speed of 100 miles per hour. Replacing the LNER Pacifics, 22 were ordered from English Electric in 1961 and 62. The class being allocated to 3 depots, each with a naming theme. Finsbury Parks carried the names of racehorses in the East Coast tradition. Gatesheads were named after English regiments, whilst Haymarkets had Scottish regiments. Replaced by HSTs from the late 70s, the last examples went in January 1982. Number 55019, Royal Highland Fusilier, was one of 2 acquired by the Society in that year, and is mainline registered. D9015 Tolya was acquired in 1986 from Peter Sampson. After touring Heritage Railways and Open Days, she was withdrawn in 1997 for a major overhaul. Outside is number 89001, a one-off prototype from 1986 for the East Coast Main Line, which ran until 1992. Later reinstated by GNER in 1996, the locomotive was withdrawn in 2000 and is now owned by the AC Locomotive Group. In the yard was Class 40, number 40012 Oriole, one of the London Midland examples named after liners. After her BR service, Oriole was placed in departmental stock for use at Crewe until 1986, being preserved in 1989. Another London Midland Class 40 is D213 Andania. Upon withdrawal in 1984, she became a donor for the National Collection's D200, but was formally preserved in 1988. She is owned by Locomotive Services Limited. Since reopening, Barrow Hill has become firmly established amongst train operators as an operating base. One of the benefactors has been Harry Needle, a hire company established in 1998. On this day was a line-up of Class 20s from DRS. The 20s were a common sight at Barrow Hill, handling coal traffic in the local area. In fact, the last 2 locomotives to leave the depot when it closed were Class 20s, numbers 20073 and 20197. Also from DRS were 3 brand new Class 68s, numbers 68023 Achilles, 68024 Centaur and 68025 Superb. Unusually, Barrow Hill once had a signal box controlling movement around the yard. This was demolished, but in 2007 the former Pinxton box on the line from Pyebridge Junction to Kirkby Lane End Junction was relocated to the depot. Behind the box is Class 03 number 03066, built at Doncaster in 1959 as number D2066. Spending her working life in the northeast, she was first preserved at the South Yorkshire Railway in Meadowhall near Sheffield. Barrow Hill not only has the roundhouse and yard, but also a demonstration line. Train start at Roundhouse halt, behind the shed, opened in 2001. The demonstration line once ran to Springwell Colliery, later connecting with the Midland Railway's route from Chesterfield to Treeton. At the depot end was LMS Genty number 47406 from the Great Central. Constructed by the Vulcan Foundry in 1926 and withdrawn in 1966, she went to Woodham's, being salvaged for spare parts. Her rusting hulk eventually left in 1983 for Buxton, moving to the GCR in 1989. First steamed in 2010, the locomotive has visited a number of heritage railways. And bringing up the rear is the world famous A3 number 60103 Flying Scotsman. Flying Scotsman is in her late 60s condition, with a double chimney applied in January 1959 and smoke deflectors fitted in December 1961. Demonstrations were also being handled by A1 number 60163 Tornado. The A1s started with Thomson's rebuild of Gresley A1 number 4470 Great Northern. However, the design was refined by Peppercorn using ideas from both Gresley and Thomson. Based on his earlier A2s, but with slightly smaller wheels, the A1s were the last pre-nationalisation express class in the UK. Allocated along the whole of the East Coast Main Line, plus 5 at Leeds Copley Hill, the last withdrawal was number 60145 St Mungo in September 1966. No A1s were preserved, so a project was started in 1990, with the frames being cut in 1994. All the construction work was done at Darlington, apart from the boiler, which came from Meiningen in Germany. The project was completed in 2008, costing £3 million. So that was a visit to Barrow Hill Roundhouse. Hope you've all enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment and follow me on Instagram. Link down below in the description. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all on the next day out. Bye!